Hello and welcome to the March 2026 edition of the Kushmerek Connection. Thank you as always for tuning in. I want to thank our hosts here at FATV for all the amazing work that they do in our community, bringing everything in North Central from Fitchburg to Lunenburg and beyond to television screens near you. Joining me in studio today is a good friend and an amazing colleague in Lunenburg. We have our police chief, Chief Thibodeau. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Relatively new chief. I'm sure it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah,
I'm sure it feels like it's been years at this point. But
yeah, it's been about a year and half a year as an interim chief. So
fantastic. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you find yourself in law enforcement, and is this something you always knew you wanted to do?
Absolutely. I grew up. My father was a police officer. My mother was a school teacher. I grew up right here in the city of Fitchburg, and you know, the values that instilled upon me as a child was public service. Obviously, with my two parents being involved in the community and in the public, and it was just something that I guess I grew into. You know, ever since I was younger, I wanted to be a police officer, and I guess that happened.
So how long have you been a police officer, and where did you get your start?
So I've been a police officer 25 years. Okay. I started in Townsend. I worked there for 10 years, and then I transferred over to Lunenburg, and I've done that for 15.
Wow. Yeah. So, you know, now as chief for a year, I'm sure you've seen. I mean, in your 25 years now as an officer. I did the math in my head, and I did the double take of, like, you don't look like you're old enough to have been a police officer for 25 years. So that's a testament to you.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of your counterparts are either significantly grayer or have less hair. So yeah, it's true. That's true. But you know, with that said, you've seen a lot of change and transformation. You know, in policing and in law enforcement, and going from Townsend to Lunenburg as well. You know, I guess with all of that experience, what has surprised you maybe the most since you moved into your new role as chief?
I think, you know, the technology changes, and the laws changes over the years, but the fact of serving the public and the people in the community doesn't change. Yeah. People are still people. You know, they still want to be able to approach their officers. They still want to talk to them. You know, that local, I guess that local aspect that we enjoy in New England, right? New England police departments, pretty much every city and town has a police department. Right. You know, if you go down south or other parts of the country, you don't have that.
It's county or state-based.
It's state-based or county-based. Right. You know, so your sheriff's department, or, you know, you might not see an officer for a couple days if you don't call them. You know, 80–90% of the population never deals with their police department. They, you know, hopefully never have to call 911, right? That's it. So other than that, if you interact with them at Hannaford or at the local restaurant, you know, that's when you see them. And that community aspect, you know, will never go away in this area.
And what an asset to your profession too, right? I mean, most of your officers are from North Central or from Massachusetts, you know, and so many live in the community. They live and experience what the residents experience every day. Right?
Exactly. I mean, they're living in the community, doing their business in the community, raising their children in the community, just like all the other residents.
Well, it builds that trust and credibility too, right? You know, moving from you know, patrolman all the way through now to chief. How has that changed on the day-to-day aspect for you? And you know, what is there a typical day-to-day as a chief?
No, so it's not typical. Being a chief, I attribute to being either a small business owner or a general manager of a company. That's right. You wear many hats. You need to know all aspects of the business or the department, and you need to be willing to, you know, change on the fly. Right. This morning, you know, I'm going over our finances, going over our budget, and then I'm outside shoveling the walkway. Right. You know, it's just stuff like that. Right. If a car breaks down, you're trying to fix a car that, you know, you can in-house. Sure. So I pride myself on being hands-on in the department. There's nothing that I won't do in the department that I won't ask one of my officers to do, whether it's shoveling or trying to change wipers on a car or, you know, washing the car, for instance. Yeah. And then the same aspect, if there's a call that requires, you know, some more experience, I'm going on that call. Yeah. You know, I'll be there. I'll show up at that call. Right. So I guess that's more of a small town police chief.
I was just going to say that's the benefit of a town like Lunenburg with a department your size. You know all of your officers very well. A small department, and everybody's forced to kind of do some of the same things, right?
Yeah, and if there's a need, if there's a call that requires all of us there, we're going to be all there. You know, in the same aspect, you know, we had a house fire there back a little while ago. You know, our fire chief's there, I'm there, the police chief's there. We're all at that fire, all actively working to help out the community.
Well, and I'm sure the residents appreciate that too. It's just the level of confidence and trust that you have in the experience when when you're on the resident side, or something bad is happening in your life, to then see that the leaders of the respective departments are there. Right. That must change kind of the entire experience for a lot of folks.
I think it gives the resident of the community some comfort. Sure. And I think it gives our officers a little bit of comfort, because maybe we have experience with that call that they haven't encountered before. We're able to lead them through that.
So your department, and I think is pretty typical in terms of policing and law enforcement right now in Massachusetts. You're seeing a lot of officers that were hired in the early 90s that are all starting to retire. The old COPS grants and both federal and state grants that triggered this massive wave and infusion of new talent back in the 90s into law enforcement, all retiring at almost the same 2 or 3 year period of time. It's increasingly a young professional that's now entering into the workforce. Is that right?
Yeah, there's definitely a tide that changed. A lot of the older officers, senior officers, have retired. I'm the senior officer in the department now. Myself and lieutenants are 8, 25 years on. Sure. In our 40s. Before, there was a wave where you'd have officers, in their 50s and 60s. That's right. And now it's a younger generation of officers that we have. They're doing an excellent job. They're very tech savvy, which is the way law enforcement is going. It's there's a lot more technology-based stuff. A lot more crimes that are happening, via the internet and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're handling it well.
Well, I think you hit it on it there, and that was gonna be my last question to you. But I guess we'll just jump there now, because you, as you said, crime is increasingly moving into the digital domain. Your department garnered a lot of, I think, state and even national attention recently on an important cyber intervention. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We did. We had our school resource officer, Brad McNamara, solved a cryptocurrency crime where he was able to recover $109,000 for the victims. Something that had not been done before. It hadn't been done in the state of Massachusetts. I'm not sure about nationally, but it had not been done yet in the state of Massachusetts, and gained a lot of praises through the Attorney General's office, the FBI, and our local DA's office.
That's incredible. And so this is a crime we increasingly hear about, and certainly our seniors often being preyed on, for online and kind of digital crimes. But what are you seeing on both crypto and kind of digital banking?
It's one of the terrible crimes of fraud, where you can have somebody that spends their whole life saving up their money for their retirement or whatnot, and that money, basically their whole life savings gets wiped out in one instance. A lot of the times the crimes are led by overseas, and we don't really have a means to prosecute that person. But if we're able now with Officer McNamara kind of leading the way, that we're able to recover these funds. We were able to recover $109,000 for people, and that's not just people in north central Massachusetts. That was other people that were actually spread out around the country. So it was a case. It was a widespread case throughout the whole United States that Brad was able to recover money for. So if we can at least get them their savings back, that's helping a little bit.
Well, and I think it really drives home that whether or not you're, an officer in a small town in rural Massachusetts or a big city or state trooper, you now have the entire breadth of law enforcement really right here in your individual town or municipality. Of like you don't have the luxury of just focusing on traffic offenses or or domestic violence. You have to, you as an officer and you as a department have to be prepared for really the entire breadth of crimes.
Yeah,
right?
it's a pretty complicated, pretty sophisticated crime. The internet crime.
Sure.
And it's something that requires a lot of investigative skills. Yeah. It requires subpoenas, it requires search warrants through the court, grand juries. It's not just that you're responding to a call, you have that right in front of you.
That's right.
You figure out the crime, either you make the arrest or you don't make the arrest, and you can kind of call it a day. Yeah. No, this was almost a year-long investigation.
Yeah. And so Officer McNamara must have been involved in training for a long time to kind of prepare to be able to investigate crimes like this.
Yeah,
so.
Officer McNamara, he's been training for years now, probably going back 4 years. Yeah. Obviously saw the trend of fraud going forward and kind of being the fastest growing crime in America. Officer McNamara took an interest in it. Yeah. And basically started sending the classes. And I consider him an expert now in the field. That's
fantastic.
And his results show for that.
That's right. That's right. And being able to return someone's savings back to them, that's incredible, because that isn't always the resolution.
Yeah. Right? That's the best part. When you can help out somebody in need and you can actually get a result for them, that's why we do this job.
Exactly. Well, thank you to Officer McNamara and to your entire department. I'm sure that what a relief that must have been to the victim.
Oh, absolutely.
So we just talked a little bit about the role that training can play, and I just recently had the opportunity to visit Lunenburg Public Safety Building and your department for some training that your officers were going through. Can you talk a little bit about the Milo training program?
Yeah, so the Milo, we were able to get a state earmark from our local representatives, that we were able to purchase this Milo system for the Lunenburg Police Department and area departments that want to utilize it. What it is an interactive training base that you go through, and different scenarios. A multitude of scenarios that you can put in there for the officer to train on, and it actually gives them a look at maybe scenarios, incidents that you don't deal with all the time. Right. It might be a once in a career incident, but in order to have this now to train on that, it gets the officer more adapted to it.
Absolutely. It was a really eye-opening experience for me, and certainly I've had the opportunity to go to multiple police academies and do some training here and there alongside candidates to eventually be municipal or state police officers, but then realizing that not all municipal officers have the opportunity to get these trainings reinforced. And to your point, you hope to God that your officers or any officers never have to encounter a mass shooting event.
Right.
But this certainly, having had the opportunity to go through a couple of the training scenarios, really just giving your officers some tools to be able to continue to train and rehash these scenarios and build some cooperative and collaborative teamwork, right?
Right. It allows your officer to train on it and become, if not more comfortable with it, at least a learning experience.
That's right.
There's a few scenarios I'm sure you went through that, afterwards we do a debriefing.
That's right.
And we talk about the scenario. Yeah. And, hey, did you miss this? Could you have done this? Could you have done that? And then maybe a week later you run through that same training. Right. And you're probably going to get better at it.
That's right.
It's something that you wouldn't have seen, before, and now that you have seen it, you're going to react differently to it. It just gives you that little bit of, practice makes perfect.
Well, you learn from the people beside you, and you might, typically in a town or even a city like Fitchburg, officers are often, responding individually, right?
Right.
You're in your own cruiser, and
yeah.
You're showing up, and yes, you might work collaboratively, often, but you might not always be taking a routine traffic stop with a whole lot of folks with you, right? And you learn from how others approach certain situations, and hopefully it allows you to improve or see things that you might not otherwise see too.
Right. Yeah. And these scenarios not always, I don't know if you went through it, but some of them are just routine traffic stops that they'll do.
Yeah.
You know, I shouldn't say routine, nothing's routine. But, you know, it's not just the worst case scenario, you know.
Yeah.
So the officer doesn't anticipate worst case scenario. You have to work your way through that training, through the virtual training that is interactive, you know, to get the results.
Well, and I think for me, one of my initial impressions was just in the course of, you know, maybe 20, 25 minutes of me going through the training before watching others, was just the breadth and scope of the types of calls that you might respond to. Of, you know, they threw me right into, you know, the first scenario was a mass shooter situation.
Yeah. And Officer McNamara was your partner, right?
He was. He was, and it was great just to learn alongside him and see, you know, kind of see through his eyes too what he was seeing and reacting and responding to. But you know, yes, you have to train for the worst case, you know, scenario. But you know, whether it was domestic or routine traffic stops or just the multitude, and realizing that, you know, I think for the public, it's often they think, oh, it's easy. You show up when there's a call, or you're responding to a traffic stop, but realizing that, you know, you've got to be attuned to, you know, 1,000 different scenarios every single call you make.
And you have to make the decision within a split second.
That's right.
You have a split second to make the right decision.
That's right.
So the more that we can train on that, the better off we'll be.
That's right. I think often we ask our police officers to be everything to everybody, and it puts you in such difficult situations at times of, you know, the stops that, you know, and just the training, you know, whether it's that traffic stop or the mass shooter or the cyber crime, you know, you're asked to do a little bit of everything for everybody, and interfacing in so many different ways, whether it's kind of, you know, you're helping just to de-escalate, or you're helping to make a referral onto human services calls. But for me, that kind of drove home just how much we ask our, you know, our law enforcement professionals to do.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you could go from changing a tire and helping somebody get into their car, to a missing person, to a domestic violence situation, God forbid, a shooting call.
That's right.
All in the same shift.
That's right. Yeah.
You know.
And so your predecessor, I believe, was the one who initially approached Rep. Scarsdale and Senator Cronin and I for this earmark for Milo, and you know, I think you know, great to see it already being used by your department. And you could see how, you know, I mean, you've become this really regional asset now. Of there's not too many other departments across the Commonwealth that have this training platform and the entire apparatus. You know, we talked before a little bit about, you know, often through mutual aid, your officers are responding alongside Fitchburg or Leominster or maybe even Fitchburg State Police officers, and you know, what opportunities exist for this to create better regional collaboration or better collaboration throughout Worcester County?
Yeah, absolutely. All of our local partners, Fitchburg State, Leominster, you know, all the surrounding cities and towns. Hopefully we can all get them in there and train on this Milo. You know, obviously scheduling is always an issue for police departments.
Sure.
You know, but yeah, in the future I look forward to training with all of our partners and getting them in there. Just because, you know, if there is a situation, a big situation, God forbid, you know, a mass shooting, Fitchburg, Leominster, Fitchburg State, Lunenburg, you know, all of your local departments are going to be there, and we're going to be responding to this side by side. You know, just last week we had a call in Lunenburg where we required Fitchburg and Leominster's assistance. That's right. You know, and all of us were there at that scene. You know, so eventually, you know, we all need to train together.
That's right. Yeah, the more opportunity to learn from, you know, and alongside each other.
Right.
It's
and
better.
This earmark that you know, Representative and Senator Cronin and Representative Scarsdale were able to get for us is not just for the Lunenburg Police Department. This is for the area. This is for the area police departments.
That's right.
You know, to train on.
Yeah, and that's you know, I think it was thrilled to hear that this was something that you were looking at and that your department both needed and wanted and really saw as an opportunity, and we're thrilled to be able to partner with you. And it was you know, I can say it was fun for me to see it because I don't have to live and breathe those situations every day, but seeing how seriously your officers were taking it, and you saw like they were they were disappointed if they missed something, and they were trying to learn alongside each other. Like, oh, I like what you did there, and you saw them debriefing afterwards of, oh, that was great. I'm going to use that again. Or I'm going to take that. I'm going to steal that from you. We're going to use that the next time.
You can train and adapt.
That's exactly
and learn.
It. That's
learn.
Right.
It's really about learning experience.
Yeah.
It's about basically honing in your skills for certain calls and realizing what you did wrong and correcting it for the next time.
That's right.
Well,
and certainly, we talked about, this kind of infusion of new young talents into the world of policing, and very much at play in your department, seeing all of these new faces come through and in a really positive way. I think coming out of police reform and coming out of a past decade, and it was, I think, a challenging to recruit new people into policing. I think we're starting to reverse that, and I think we're starting to show that we want good people to from all communities and facets of life to be open to joining law enforcement, open to be joining municipal police. What advice would you give to folks that are either one, been skeptical, or two, who have been dreaming about it since they were a little boy or girl about being a police officer?
So the best part about being right up here in Northwest County is we have Fitchburg State University.
That's right.
We have Fitchburg State 4-in-1 police program that is, I consider one of the best programs in the state. Yeah. If you want to go into criminal justice, if you want to go into law enforcement, all you have to do is get good grades in high school, apply to Fitchburg State, and enroll in their 4-in-1 program.
That's right.
And they're going to basically get you ready for a career in law enforcement. I think now we've hired 7 or 8 officers from that program.
That's fantastic.
And it's been absolutely, kind of a breath of fresh air for us here at the PD, because you're getting that officer, and they've already been training for those 4 years.
That's right.
They have the academy, and they're ready to go on day one. We put them through our field training program, and you don't have to wait that 6 months for an officer to go to another academy. If they can get out of college, have their degree, have their academy all ready to go, it's been pretty good for us.
Yeah, the program was the first of its kind in the world, really.
Right.
They created this this platform that everybody's been coming from around the world to really see what they're doing and to take it back to different countries, and certainly other states are starting to look at how do we do what they do. And you and I are both graduates of Fitchburg State.
Yes, we are.
But you're a graduate of the criminal justice program, right?
I am. I was one of the original criminal justice program graduates when they started it. It was started by Beth Walsh, Professor Walsh. I think Professor Weiss started that program, and then they just kept building from there to where it is today, which today is, obviously an amazing program that they have there today, and great asset to local police departments here in North Central Massachusetts.
Yeah, I mean, it just not only great to see it in our backyard, but just great to see how they collaborate too, and and the idea of taking these young people who before they even step foot in a cruiser, and before they put their badge on, ensuring that they're exposed to different mindsets and attitudes, and going through college, and they make sure that over that 4-year period of once you walk into that cohort as a policing concentration, that they try to start shaping your mindset.
Yep. Throughout
those entire 4 years, and just incredible to see. And
yeah, we get them at the PD, and pretty much we can get on with our field training at day one.
Biggest complaint I hear around the state is that there's not enough graduates coming out of the program, and they want to get more. And
absolutely, yeah. If there's a young adult out there looking to go into criminal justice, definitely give Fitchburg State University a real consideration.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have to go far from home to get one of the quality educations and training around.
That's amazing. Before we leave, folks, any final thoughts? Anything you're excited about to talk about, either within your department, within policing, or anything folks should know back home?
Well, we have our upcoming April 17th, smarter than a fifth grader.
That's right.
For the Lunenburg Teen Center that we always we always participate in. We always put a team in from the police department to compete. Fantastic. We've won it one year, but other years we have lost. And that's a great community event, you know, basically raising funds for the Lunenburg Teen Center, which helps out dramatically in town.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thanks for all of your support of the Teen Center, and thank you for everything that you and your department do for Lunenburg and for all of North Central. We're proud to have you as the chief, and really just proud of the work that you and your department do each and every day.
Thank you.
Of course. To our folks back home, thank you as always for tuning in. Thank you to our folks and our hosts at FATV and the incredible work that they do, and we're looking forward to seeing you in April.